Okay, thank you, Margot. Let's welcome everybody to the January 10th, 2023 Board of Selectmen's meeting. First thing to do is say Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year.
First item on the, let's call this to order at 6:31. The first item on the agenda is approve the minutes from the regular meeting held on December 27th, 2022, and the joint special meeting held on December 29th, 2022.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the regular held meeting on December 27th and the joint special meeting on December 29th.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Okay, the next item on the agenda is the audience of citizens. Is there any business to come before the board? Fred?
I have a couple of questions, because the Cloud Park property is coming up under discussion. One question I have is, how many years has the town owned that land that's been lying fallow, not contributing to the tax base?
I don't have any idea.
It's been a long time.
I don't have any
It's been
idea.
a long time, because, I go through the area roads a lot, and down on Westbrook Road in Center Brook, there's a 20,000 square foot building being erected right now, I think by Park Corporation. And you can bet that it's not going to be empty, and before long it'll be putting money into the coffers of the town of Essex. Where are our projects like that? I looked online today, and I was looking for economic development minutes, and I didn't see any for this year. Are they even meeting?
Are you talking about?
EDC?
Well, I don't know what you're asking about. Yes, they are meeting when they can get a quorum.
Because they have not, I've been attending all of the P&Z meetings with the exception of one, and we've had numerous joint meetings, and I don't recall that they've even attended any of those in the land use meetings. We have another one coming up Wednesday, and I'm not holding my breath ever.
You're talking about joint meetings, right? Not
Right.
just land use meetings. Okay.
Right,
yeah.
EDC, it's a joint meeting between the land use
Understood.
groups, and
Yeah.
I haven't seen them attend any of those meetings, and, here we're gonna add 2 mills, to my understanding, to the tax rate to fund, a non-recurring fund has been proposed.
We're not adding any mills based on that, but if you pay attention to the Board of Finance meetings, you'll see that. But
Okay, but it's.
There are
it's
no
still gonna
mills
come
being
out of the
proposed.
Coffers of the town.
no, it is not.
Where's,
It is simply moving money that is already there
okay,
over to a non-recurring fund so that we don't have to go back for approval for projects that have already been approved.
still taxpayers' money though.
It is still taxpayers' money. It was
We should be
before and
looking
it
for-
is now.
We should be looking for additional sources of revenue. We have 3 prime pieces of real estate on Main Street right now that are for sale. And if we don't have an active EDC that's promoting our town, we don't have much influence over what happens on our Main Street.
There is a vacancy, Fred, if you'd like to volunteer for that.
I'm already on 2 boards. I'm on 2 boards. So if we have members that aren't participating, now I know personally of 2 members that left the EDC because of the inactivity on those boards.
I don't think that that's quite accurate, but that's okay.
So
I've heard that twice.
I've
Yep.
heard it from them personally.
Yep, there you go.
So I mean, and both of them are pretty talented people.
Well, then they should not have left. They should have continued to participate. But that's up to them. It's personal decisions whether they want to participate or not.
But nonetheless, we're not seeing a lot of activity out of the EDC.
Then I would suggest maybe going to a meeting, maybe not join the commission, but go to a meeting and speak your piece to them. I've been going to their meetings and I try to express similar sentiments to what you've expressed. And I'd like to see them participate.
Perhaps it's time, like other towns, to hire some professionals to fulfill that position, because we would get that money back in development. I mean, right now, our POCD committee is one of our things that we're accentuating in the POCD is economic development.
Mhm.
So we're gonna need some people that carry out those
Mhm.
goals.
Thank you. Anyone else? Jane?
This is in anticipation, because what I really want to comment on is what you're going to present later about the American Rescue Plan money.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Is there going to be any way we can,
I'm not sure about that, Jane. It's not really it's on the agenda for us to discuss and for us to move forward. If you have thoughts on it, you've expressed some of your thoughts already, and I think there are going to be ample opportunities for the public to speak as this moves forward. I'm not sure tonight's the night for us to go into a lot of conversation between the public and us. But let's play that as it comes. I know we have Bruce here from the Historical Society, and a couple of folks from the Historical Society, and if they're here and they want to defend their application, that's great. But there will be ample time for that as well.
Then I know that you've gotten a lot more in the way of applications, which is great. I will express my opinion of what was on the original applications, which was a long time ago. It was $75,000 for Parks and Rec over a number of years for music festivals, and I objected to it then because we have the muster, which brings a lot of people into town. We could expand on that. And we have is it Thursday night, the concert series? And they're wonderful. I don't really feel that we need, I'll take this off, that we need any more in the way of
Economic development.
No, in terms of music festivals.
Yeah.
I really feel we're kind of covered with music festivals. And to me, it's a little bit like giving somebody who's in need, who's had trouble because of COVID, and they're economically stressed, giving them a very fancy meal when what they need is money for groceries for the week, not just one meal. I mean, the concert is this lovely thing, but it's like that one meal. It's gone. So that's the one that I objected to, that I happened to notice from. But I hope, I understand you've got some other good ones.
We've got a lot of good things to talk about. And,
Good, that's wonderful.
we appreciate your input. We've heard it and we've heard it again.
Hi, Catherine Russell, resident and taxpayer. I wanted to follow up and understand the process for putting items in for sidewalk repair. This is Elm Street. I only brought 2 copies. And I brought it up at the April meeting, the Selectmen meeting in April, last April.
I don't remember that.
Was told that there was funding and they were going to be redoing sidewalks. But the
Oh,
work
yeah.
that was actually done was on West Elm. This is between 34, if you're walking on the north side of Elm coming to town. And anyway, you see what it looks like. pretty
Yeah.
soon. So I don't know how you get them into a schedule, but I hope that.
Well, ultimately, bringing it to the first selectman's office would be the first step. You can bring it here if you like to, but if you were waiting to bring it here, I would suggest
No,
not to do
great.
that, just to bring it to the first selectman's office and we can get the town crew on it.
Okay.
That situation in April was, I misunderstood what the state had indicated that they were going to do. The notice, I read the notice, is that they were going to be repairing sidewalks and replacing sidewalks on Route 80 and Elm Street, all the way up to Route 9. Instead, that was just working on the entrances, at the handicapped entrances. So we'll get at this.
Thank you.
And all that.
And one other thing, I'd like to ask for an update on the consideration for Brian Phillips for the P&Z role. The RTC endorsed him on October 11th, that's 13 weeks ago, and I'm wondering, I see there are several people today who are voting in approval. He's not on there. And I'm just wondering if folks have interviewed him and what's an update, please?
Yeah, I think these, Dwayne and Jim have both been able to reach Brian. I have not. I've left messages. We are trying to communicate. As soon as we do, we'll be able to get that done. There's another person also who was ready to be on the agenda, but we haven't been able to communicate.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Can I make a compliment?
Sure.
Great job on Matland Valley where the roadway had given way over the culvert.
Mhm.
And that curve near Kensington Dempsey's house.
Mhm.
That was a really, really nice repair.
Hmm. Good, I'll tell the
Yeah,
highway
salt and rock
department that you
there.
think so.
Yeah.
I will let them know.
Well, I'm Veronica Mikowski. I just would like to suggest that when the selectmen look at the ARPA application, that you give, I don't know how to say, extra weight to the ones that came in on time originally. Because I would think that the effort to get them in on time and to do, to follow the original process shows true need. We didn't have to be begged to apply. That's all.
Thanks. Yeah. This has been a long process. Many towns, my big concern, well, we'll get to this when we get to it. Let's get to the agenda. Is there anything else? Okay. Next item on the agenda is appointments. We have 3. Conservation Inland Wetlands Commission, Stuart Scott Cutler has been recommended by the chair of the commission. Had a good conversation with him, and he's looking forward to serving. Deep River Housing Authority is a reappointment of Stephanie Jo Cole, and Sustainability Committee is Thomas Groth, has expressed an interest. So
And there's no dates on
there is no
on
expiration
that
date
one.
on that,
That's
right?
no-
Yeah.
Did everyone speak to the inland wetlands candidate?
I don't think so.
Well,
I didn't.
That's what's holding up the other.
It is. Thank you, Jen.
So how can you vote on this when you haven't? all
Well,
up?
we might not, Jane, but let's let this go, okay? This is not, public comment is finished, thank you. So we have these 3, this fellow came, as I said, recommended by the chair.
Right.
I had a brief conversation with him the other day. They are struggling to put a quorum together,
Okay.
which is why they asked us to push this through. If you guys want to hold off on it, we certainly can. And we haven't spoken, I don't think either of you have spoken to Thomas Groth either, so.
The only question, do they have a meeting coming up?
Yes.
Now, the only,
It's okay if you guys
No,
want
I-
to hold off on it. it's
I
fine.
just, I know we started a trend there a couple of years
Yep.
ago about interviewing and, not to
Yep.
follow what Jane said, but
No, it's
I mean,
100%.
is 2 weeks gonna make a difference? Is that gonna hurt?
Well, they'll miss this meeting. That's okay. If everyone shows up, they'll be fine.
Okay.
It's not a big deal.
I would like to move forward with the other 2.
There you go.
I'll make a motion for the Deep River Housing Authority. For Stephanie Jo Cole, term to expire 2/1/2028. And to put Thomas Groth on the Deep River Sustainability CT Committee. And table Stuart until
Yep,
Jimmy and I have a chance to chat with him.
I will forward you his number.
Okay.
Then I second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is a discussion and possible action on the industrial park property. We've been talking about this property for a while now. We've had a lot of interest has been expressed on this property recently. Actually, and there was interest expressed quite a while ago as well. That fell through. As you guys are aware, I've been leaning towards and still feel pretty strongly that the best thing to do with this property is to continue with what the property was developed for, which is an incubator type development. There has been multiple expressions of interest in purchasing that property outright. So rather than just me pushing it forward, I'm going to open it up to the 2 of you to see how you feel about sale or continuing with the leasing as we have been doing.
I'll continue on my stance for the past year, 18 months. I would like to sell it. I would like to advertise it,
Yeah.
put it out there and have a secured bond check, and a closed bid. And if you bid X and I bid Y and I'm the winner, I get it.
Okay.
I'd like to get that money back on the tax roll, as Fred had asked there. I don't know how much money it would generate in taxes, but I do support the encumbered buildings, but it's been sitting there for how many years? I've been on here for 7 years and you've been on more than I have, so
No.
if there's interest and people want to buy it, let's move it forward. Not that we're in the real estate business, but
No.
get the guidelines from our town attorney, and that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah.
And what I would like to do is, whatever we get for that property, I would like it earmarked for something specific. I just don't want it thrown into the general fund and we do it to pay bills or something, but whether it's to develop another piece of property down the road someday, or that's just my quick thinking right
Yep.
now.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm on the side of selling the property myself.
Okay.
Not to parrot what Dwayne just said, but it immediately puts or not immediately, but upon sale, it puts that property back on the tax rolls. That business or whatever moves in there, there's employees and taxes and, all that kind of stuff that goes along with it. The incubator process it dates back to Walt Missick in the South Main, and then Smitty ran with it, and great idea. But I look at it as just one more thing that the town has to worry about in maintaining those type of buildings and leases and ownership. Who owns the property, who owns the land, leases, all that kind of stuff. We just sell it, get it back on the tax roll as soon as possible. And then as far as how to sell it, I think there's professional, whether it's the town attorney might have to tell us how to. Close bids, put it out with a real estate agent, whatever it is, but I believe that we should sell it.
Well, that's actually a good conversation we can
I think if
have.
we put it out with, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
but if
no,
we put it out with real estate,
Yeah.
we're gonna lose
Well, there's a commission,
percentage.
right?
So however we could possibly do it with Jane's guidance. And then again, ultimately, we have to bring this to the town, right?
Absolutely.
I was just gonna
So
say, it has to be
maybe
town.
twice.
The
Might
three of
have to
us
go twice.
can decide, we can be split or whatever, but
can't
ultimately,
sell it.
it's the town upstairs that's gonna make the
Yeah.
decision.
Yep, no, we can't sell it outright ourselves. I have been speaking with the town attorney over many of these months to focus on my interest, which was lease. But talking with her about selling the property, there are a few steps we have to go through. The first step is we have to get authorization from the town to sell the property outright. That has to go to a town meeting. In the meanwhile, we also need to determine a price, what we want for the property. I don't think a straight up auction is the right way to go. I think we should put a minimum bid on it.
Minimum.
We've gotten some value already from the assessor's office. We do need to determine whether we want to go to bid, closed bid, or whether we want to use a real estate agent. We will lose the commission if we use a real estate agent, but the property will be better advertised than we can do, and we probably will attract more interest if we use that real estate agent. If we determine not to use a real estate agent and we advertise it ourselves, we will benefit from the not having to pay for a commission. We will have to pay for advertising. We'll have to figure out how best to advertise it. There are places that we can do that. We're certainly not going to be the first municipality to sell a property without the benefit of a real estate agent. I think those are some things that we need to determine.
Well, just to make it clear, when I use the word auction, I'm not looking to say, hey, just put it up there. I was looking just to, here's the bid date, February 1st. You have to have a cashier's check for X. Has to be in the town hall at 2 o'clock. And we open the bids and whoever gets.
Yep.
That's how I was talking with the auction. I wasn't talking an auction. So
Right.
I just want to clarify that, but that's how I
Okay.
would like to go about it.
Well,
I'm only one.
no, it sounds like there's two.
I agree.
And with the two of you, I'm certainly going to work hard to make sure that this happens as quickly as we can. My question is, I think we'll take a vote to figure out a motion to move forward with the sale of the property. And I will work with Jane or with whatever other attorney we might need to determine how best to go about that with whether an agent, and we can talk about it again next week with what we're able to find out.
We need a motion
Yeah.
to move it to a town meeting to discuss
We
the sale.
will need that. No, not to discuss the sale. The town meeting will be to sell it or not,
So-
vote to sell it or not, and I think at that point we should have
The information.
the information
Yeah, okay.
as to how we're going to sell it, and also the information as to what the minimum price might be.
Okay.
Okay?
I make a motion that we, the Board of Selectmen, vote on the sale of the piece of property at, do we have the address of that particular piece of property?
61B, I think.
61.
61B, Mislip Drive.
Vote on the sale of the piece of property at 61B in the industrial park.
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next item up on the agenda is going to take us a bit of time. You guys have a list. We have a list of, and that item is review of ARPA applications. Joyce, did you give them to me, or do you have some copies?
No, they're right there.
Oh, great. There are copies of the list of applications that we have in front of us on the table. I've got the applications here. As we get started on this, the first thing I want to point out is that this is a great opportunity for our community and for some of our members of the community to benefit from a bad situation. We are lucky, and I think we were wise to hold off, given the amount of demand that we have for this money and the amount of money that we have. We started off with $1,314,908. We have already committed $300,000 of that. So
And we, meaning the town.
the town has committed. Yeah, the
Via
town's
town meeting.
committed $300,000 to the purchase of a radio system for the entire town, all of the emergency services, as well as the town crew, and that brings us down to $1,014,908. The requests that we have here, you'll see on this, it shows the town of Deep River 300,000. That's already committed. If you take that out, we've got $1,014,000. The requests that we have are
Close to
$1,500,000, I
Yeah.
think. $1,526,000. So we've got a Solomon-esque task in front of us to try and determine where this money goes. And I think that all of this is worth a good, long conversation and a deliberative conversation before we move it. But going through, I want to point out some of these things that are community and should move forward, because a couple of them are dependent on our moving them or not.
Can I just say something before we
Sure.
get going?
Yeah, of course.
Just so when we get working on this, it's not that I'm against any of these, but there's a pie that we have to dice up and feed as many people as possible.
Yep.
So it's not that I'm gonna vote, because there's some things here that I support, but I think they're asking for a little bit too much money. And so I just want to be on the record that, again, I support all these, but we have a pie that has to serve a lot that
That's precisely where we're at. That's what I mean when I say Solomon-esque.
Right.
We've got to split the baby.
Yep.
We've got, it's a difficult task. The town is going to be all of these are going to be put in front of the town, I would think. I don't see anything here that is going to be turned away at hand.
Correct.
I'm not sure, I will suggest that some of these will not get all that they're asking for. Some of them will. So before we just go boom, 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 boom down the list, I want to point out some of the things that I believe we should move forward into without a whole heck of a lot of conversation other than explanation. The Tri-Town Youth Services is one that money is part of a three-part request. Chester and Essex have both voted to contribute that money. It's for 3 years for additional cost for additional employees. And as we move forward, I think you guys have been able to read this already. Public has not, but we can point it out briefly today. That is for additional employees to help with social service counseling and things like that.
And that's 48 a year.
That's 48,000 over the next 2 years. No, it's
Total.
24 and 24. The first year is a $5,000 payment, and then a 21 and a 21. So that's over 3 years.
Okay.
The Shoreline Soup Kitchen is a $10,000 one-time payment to go towards a refrigerator truck. That $10,000 has been requested from all of the towns in our river cog, and some towns have already determined to contribute it, others have not yet gotten to that. The River Cog Regional Council of Governments, I've explained this to you previously, but I want to make sure that everyone understands what that is. This is, if you remember, when this money was awarded to the states from the federal government, it was awarded in 2 different sections. One was to the communities themselves, and one was to the counties. Well, Connecticut doesn't have a county government. So what the feds did is they said, well, we're just going to give it all to the towns. What we do have in Connecticut that the feds don't pay attention to is this council of governments. These act effectively as county governments. Rivercog has not asked for all of that. They've asked for 15% of the county funds. That 15% comes to $92,250. Now, what they say, if you read their application or their request, was that this will not be $95,000 we just write them a check and they get $95,000. As they come up with regional programs that include Deep River, we will contribute towards that, whatever that percentage is, up to $95,000.
Okay.
Okay, so
Now,
they
are
come.
all the surrounding towns doing the same 95,000, or is it?
15% of whatever they were awarded.
Okay.
Okay, so we were awarded $657,000 to our town. And then another $657,000 would have gone to the county if we were county government. Instead, that came to us, that gets us up to the $1.3 million. Once that, these guys, Rivercog has asked for $95,000 over the course of this fund for us to set aside for them when they come up with a regional program or project that includes Deep River. Now, if they come up with a project that's Old Lyme, and East Haddam, we're not obligated, nor do we want to contribute towards that, unless we want to, if it's something that benefits us. If they come up with something that is Deep River, Chester, and Essex,
Different story.
different story. If they come up with something that is all of the river towns, something about removing milfoil or whatever some invasive species, and we can contribute to it, then that's what that money would be earmarked for. It would be set aside. It stays in our coffers until they request it. Deep River Social Services, I've been talking about this. I think that we should get someone hired over there to help out with our social services for the next couple of years. So we can have a full-time person in that office while people are coming in. It's been a huge demand over the past few months. Then we come down to Deep River Public Works. We've got a wood chipper is on our capital improvement plan. We're one of the few towns around that does not have a wood chipper. I think that we should have that. We're renting now whenever we have a storm, whenever we need to do that. Deep River Public Works, also, we do not have a generator up there. So if we lose power in that end of town, we can't pump fuel into our trucks. The guys can't have any heat in the building to keep them warm. I've labeled this as Board of Selectmen because I'm hopeful that you guys will join this. They can make it first Selectmen if you don't, but the $35,000 energy assistance supplement to CHC. Our costs of energy have gone up, it's skyrocketed right now. I think we're going to see a large increase in need And while the state has already got programs together, I think we can have some local funds here too to help supplement what we already have. CHC has a very good bankroll already, but this to supplement that, I think at least through this winter would be appropriate. I also labeled Board of Selectmen a $200,000 set aside for a small business and nonprofit relief program. That's the grant program that I've been defining with you guys. We're trying to work with this fellow to establish that so folks can make an application for money that they lost, businesses or nonprofits, that can verify money that they lost as a result of the pandemic. Up to a certain amount, not 200, you know, we will determine whether that's $10,000, $15,000, whatever each application is. But if we set aside $200,000, we can send these applications out. The next is a Board of Selectmen, again, $50,000 for a heritage and tourism corridor advertisement. This talks about, this is a proposal to put together a video. That's right here, I think. I don't know that you guys got to see this one yet. This is a exploring Deep River concept. It puts together a flyer similar to what was done for Essex. This kind of thing, right? I told you guys about this a while ago. And he's got tours. He's got a video, a driving tour, 15-minute video that you can drive. That actually you can go online and look and see. This is Deep River. This is why I want to go there. It talks about different sections,
Promoting the town.
historically, basically promoting the town and the history of the town.
And who is doing this? Who would do that, the town?
Well, we'd have to go to bid on it,
Yeah, okay.
but the town would support.
Yeah.
This is just an application.
Gotcha.
And the last that I feel pretty strongly about that we do is a $50,000 grant to reimburse businesses or commercial properties for minor facade improvement costs associated with rehab of commercial properties. You know, a lot of folks, it might be a nice incentive for someone to put some effort into dressing up their property, and if they have a commercial property on Main Street or in some of the commercial areas. This, you know, I think if we set aside $50,000 and offer, you know, a small incentive,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and ask people to apply for that. So those are the ones that I'm happy to defend as we go along. As we come back now, we can go into some of the applications. We have the Middlesex Health Center for Behavioral Health. This is a program that I'm not as familiar with what I was just talking about, so I'm going to read some of these. Middlesex Health is a behavioral health outpatient services. Last year, 85 patients from Deep River registered with their clinic for a total of 1,035 sessions. Based on that, they've asked for $15,500 to help continue their services. Deep River uses them. I think we contribute normally $3,000 a year towards them. This would be a $15,000 contribution out of ARPA towards their operation.
What was that, 84 patients?
85.
85?
Yeah. That's for behavioral health.
Does that conflict or augment what Tri-Town Youth Services would do?
No. Tri-Town Youth Services
In any way?
does not do that kind of count. This is more for, number one, this is more for adults.
Okay.
But it's also, Tri-Town has some of this request is for counseling, but Tri-Town does not employ the type of counseling
For the
services
adult.
that this does.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. The next is the fire department. This is a big request, and we probably ought to talk about the individual parts of what they're looking for. Now, and there's some things to talk about on this one. The SCBA replacement is one of them. $55,000. Now, you know that we're in the middle of a replacement program right now for those. We had them in the budget last year, we've got them in the budget this year. We just were turned down on our grant application for FEMA for the truck and the SCBA, both of those got turned down. This is already in the budget for this year. I don't think that they've been spent yet because we were kind of waiting on the grant. But that part of it might be something that we can talk to the fire department about holding off. But that's something we need to talk about, is whether or not that's something we use this money to spend it on, or keep it in the program that we have been doing,
In
which
the
comes
budget,
out of
yearly
the
budget.
regular budget.
Yeah.
The communications tower upgrades, that's something that the town has to do. We bought these new radios, but there are still 800 UHF crossband that needs that antenna.
The
to
appropriate
use.
transmission
Yeah, I don't
device.
know the language.
Yeah.
The fire department can certainly come in and talk about that, but that antenna needs to be serviced and maintained.
But should that all fall on the fire department?
No, that would be emergency services,
Yeah,
but
'cause
the
that's-
fire department is who asked for it.
But why would they ask for it if it would be jointly with the town garage, the fire department,
Police.
the police,
Yeah.
the ambulance?
Well,
That should fall, I think, more on capital on us, no?
that's fine. That's 100% right. The same thing could be said for their application. If you remember looking at it, that asked also for the 800 radio upgrade, which is $300,000 that we already spent. That was not just for the fire department. While most of those radios went to the fire department, that went to all of the same people that we're talking about. So it's in the fire department request, but I think it is something that we should consider as part of this. We don't need to. It's $3,000.
No.
It's not a big deal, but it's something to talk about. Something else that they're asking for is firefighting gear. 10 complete full sets. Now, I think it's worth them coming in and talking about their need for that. They talk about replacing a few every year.
We bought some last year.
Yeah, we bought some last year, we bought some the year before. Bailout sets is again something that they're gonna need to talk about. I think that has something.
What was that one?
Bailout sets, I don't know.
I don't know what that is.
The boat repower has already been done. And then there's some minor requests. One of the things they wanna do is put electronic door locks for the stations. That's a $13,000 part of it. The UTV is something that they've been requesting for quite some time. I'm not entirely sure that that's something that the town needs. They go up to the Winthrop station. They've asked for a generator for new electrics, and new electric service for the building. For the same reason, really, that we need a generator at the fire department and here and up at the. And the last one is apparatus bay door area floor leveling and refinishing. So that's a request that totals right now $218,000. But I think we can afford to do some trimming.
Yes, I agree with that.
Well, the last one you just talked about, the level on the floor,
Yeah.
that would be a waste of money if
We will,
we move forward or try to move forward with,
Not necessarily, that's the Winthrop station.
oh,
you didn't say the Winthrop, on the
Yeah,
level,
no,
okay.
the level on the
Living
floor.
room floors is the
Okay,
Winthrop
all
station.
right.
It's
Oh, okay, all right.
last three were the
All right.
Winthrop station.
Well, you thought the same things I did, so.
No, I thought I said
Yeah.
that, sorry about
I
that.
thought, yeah, that's okay.
I might be going a little too quickly.
That's
I don't
okay.
mean to do
No,
that.
no
Diane,
problem.
Slow me down, please. So I think there's room for trimming here.
Yeah,
I'm
it's-
not sure that you want to talk to the fire department a little bit, have them come in if you want to
Well,
and
it
talk
goes back
about
to
it.
my initial comment. It's not that I don't support it,
Yep,
but when we go upstairs to the town people, the
Mhm.
taxpayers of this community, and they look back of what we've purchased over the past couple of years, it's in the $2 million range.
yep,
Again, I support it, but there's some other people here that needs some money also.
Yep.
And that's where I want to get the most out of that pie as possible. And I'm not
Yep.
saying I'm against it, but there's a lot of people that have to eat.
100%. And
And
that's
I
good.
echo that too, we got a new fire truck coming, we're gonna have a new tanker coming. you know, they're getting a lot. And I'm a third or fourth generation retired firefighter, so I believe in what they do, and we need to support them. But I believe that there's a lot of things in here that can be part of a normal budgetary process and use some of that money for other areas.
Absolutely. So I'm not sure how you want to proceed with this. You want to just start making some wax now, or if you want to talk with them, we can have them come in.
Well, I'd like to know where we're at with the SCBA's, because we've been hearing that for 3 years now.
Well, we've been hearing it for 5 years.
Well,
It's been on the CIP for
since
5
we've
years,
been-
but we've needed to
Since we've
needed
been
to start
purchasing,
this. Yep.
where are we a third done, are we a half done, are we 2/3 done, three-quarters?
Or will we never be done because we're just keep having to
No, we
X
will be
number of-
done.
Well, I gotta believe that the units eventually expire, if you will, use the wrong term, expire, where they're gonna have to be replaced
They
in
do
perpetuity.
expire, and
some
they will
point.
always, I don't know what the time frame is, it's either 10, 15, or 20 years that
Okay,
they
it's that far
age
out.
out. What happens with them is that, what happened with us is we bought a bunch all at once. Either we got a grant or something came up, and we bought a bunch all at once, so they're aging out at the
Yep,
same
all
time.
at the same time,
It'd
okay.
be, what we're trying to do here is to get us on at least staggered, and then hopefully the next time around, we can stagger a little bit further out. So instead of buying 10 every year, we're buying 5 every year. Or, and then it, you know, or 2
Well,
every
maybe-
year. So
maybe
it's
they can-
constantly in the budget, but it's
Yeah.
not,
Maybe they can
big
explain
one.
that,
And
but they can tell us where we're at.
That's
I
where
don't
we're
know
at,
where we're at.
and what
where
the,
we're at.
and what the length of life is, and all that kind of stuff.
They can tell us where we're at. They have in the past, and I don't, all I remember is that it has a lifespan, and they're aged out or aging out, and we need to replace them. We've tried for grants, and we've budgeted. I know we bought some last year,
Right.
and I know we budgeted for some this year. I'm not sure about 3 years ago, but I will, that's a question mark for them. I think the same thing comes down to the, I'd like a definition of what these bailout sets are.
I don't know what that is.
No, neither do I.
And that's only,
That's
well, that's
25,
25 grand,
yeah.
so it's a sizable
That's a
amount.
chunk.
I don't know what a bailout set is.
I don't either. The electronic door locks for the stations, that's 13,000. I think it's something we might want to think about, whether or not it's important or not. You know, it's like everything, they've got keys all over the place, but that's, it would save them some time. And I know Joyce would like us to have electronic door locks throughout the town, because it would save us distribution of keys.
Yeah.
And the uniforms are just, again, I know the uniforms wear out, but just like to know where we're at with replacing.
Yep.
The gear.
Because I
Okay.
know last year we bought 10, I believe, in last year's
Yes,
budget.
yep. Well, we had a bunch of new members.
New
I think.
members.
Yeah, yep.
There was a bunch of, that was the driving force
Right.
then, yeah.
So I'll ask them those questions. If you think of anything else, let me know. And we'll either get the answers or we'll get them in here for our next night meeting. Next up is Parks and Rec. Whether we agree with Jane or don't agree with Jane, this has already moved through the process of town meeting, of Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance. So this will go to the town meeting. I think that we might want to ask Park and Rec to try to reconsider the amount. I think it might be a little high.
A little steep, but-
Yeah. But I do think that the idea is the right one. I think we had, at the beginning of COVID, we had a quartet from the New Haven Symphony came down and played at the green, at the church green, and that was really well attended and well received.
Wasn't that 3?
It's okay. It might have been a 3. I'm not sure what it was. It does, whatever it was, it was a lot of fun.
I guess my
And it-
question would be, that's the 25,000 over 3 years. So if we trimmed it to whatever, say 20,000, would they still be able to do their program, or do they need that $25,000 per
Well,
year?
I actually think for what they wanted to do, the 25,000 was not enough. I don't think they, but what they did last year, I think is more along the lines of what they ought to focus on. They had, I don't want to say local bands, because they did have local bands, but they had local bands that have an attraction beyond just Deep River, Chester, Essex. They had, and there are some acts that that if you, over the course of a day, if you build up the day, you don't need, I don't think we need to have as much. They had 2 days of music, or maybe it was 1 day, whatever it was a fun day that had lousy weather and still was well attended. I think it's a good idea. It brings people into town. Everybody that was there at one point or another came into town, bought some food, brought it back, and enjoyed it. And at the end of the show, we're in some of the restaurants. So it was a fun event. It was something that brought people into town. But I think we can work with them on how much that actually is. But that is already been approved to town meeting. So. Next is Deep River Historical Society. I won't speak for them since they're here. If Bruce, if you'd like to address your application.
A little bit. So the grant request covers 2 different areas. One is security. We are only staffed 4 hours a week, which means all the infrastructure is there unattended for all the rest of the week. We have no way of knowing if we have water in the basement, for instance, in the stone house. So we have to know whether, especially now we've increased the water pressure in the town, that becomes an issue with our old building. So money for security would upgrade our system so we would have better security in the different areas than what we have right now. That being one good example, we need protection on more windows. It's going to give us sensors outside. It's going to allow us to be able to monitor who actually comes into the building on a regular basis because you're typing in your personal code, which we don't have now. Because there are keys everywhere, like you know what that's like. We have 2 buildings, the roofs leak. We are the repository for Deep River's history. We have active roof leaks, water leaks now. Those are the things we want to do, the 2 roofs and updating the security.
Okay.
And that one not because they're here, but that one I support 100% because that's Deep River. That's who we are.
That's the history.
And we have to protect it. And these small leaks start off to a bigger leak and it's gonna cost you $10,000 this year, cost you $20,000 next year. So something like that should be fixed now.
And it's over our exhibits.
So even enough money.
Sooner than.
Probably not.
Enough money.
Probably
We'll
not.
do it. I've done some rather extensive bidding process. So, yeah, I can do it with this money.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Deep River Public Library is another large, and actually, if you would like to speak to it, you certainly are welcome to.
I'd like to. I'm on the
I
library board.
didn't remember that we just appointed
I was there last night.
Catherine to the board. So.
The board and the staff gave a lot of thought to this, and they were impacted during COVID with usage down, and we combined the thinking with that with some of the population that they're serving, and particularly the young adults who have shown instances of mental health problems, behavioral health, etc. They came and put together 6 requests. I mean, it's bundled up here. It's 119,850, but there were 6 specific things they listed in priority order. The first one was a staff addition to service both the young adults and the adults, and it would be $45,000 over 3 years. They asked for a capital infrastructure of $35,000 for the circulation desk, which I think is there from 1960 and doesn't fit a lot of equipment, and it's not ergonomically correct. It's situated in an area that you actually can't see the front door, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that was pretty strong. And those are the 2 largest amounts, with $45,000 for the staff addition over 3 years, and $35,000 for a new circulation desk. The other items are less costly. It's program extension, that's planning the programs, subscribing to the materials, et cetera, that's $5,800. Increasing digital materials, there's been a great, one plus coming out of COVID is that people adapted to digital pretty well, and you can get a good bang for your buck at $3,500 by significantly increasing the digital materials that they have. $22,400 for a privacy pod, and we'd like to have a single pod and a double pod. And this thinking was that you've got people who are afraid as COVID comes back, they can be isolated, not working with others, or it's for people who are trying to do business and they're working remotely, to be able to come in and have a meeting, or even a student or a part-time teacher or tutor, whatever. So you could have some privacy, quiet thinking, while not disturbing the rest of the library patrons. And then lastly, there was a request for outdoor programming. And do you want this detail? I don't know if you have it.
If that's different from what.
It's the same one.
Then we have it.
Okay, great. And the concept was, we've been doing some work on the outside with the garden club and the Rotary and fixing up that area, and actually be able to put some, I don't know what you call it, furniture equipment that people could sit on with that. They're doing the landscaping now, so that you could be moving some of the folks to get comfortable being inside, outside, weather allowing.
This is a good one, but one of the tough ones for me. I love our library. I think we have one of the better libraries in the area, which is amazing to me. But this is a substantial request. And some of it, like the circulation desk, I think is important. And after the meeting last night, I was thinking that it would be appropriate to take some other money from here or other money somewhere and get an architect to come in and actually look at that and design where that should be and what it should be, not just our lovely librarians deciding, looking at the furniture and saying what they want. I do think that the circulation desk is important. I don't know enough about, I think that the digital materials is very, very important. Some of these are minor, the ones I'm looking at, the program extension, in my own opinion, is that we already are doing a tremendous job with that. We are lucky to have the two librarians that we have.
Didn't we just add a person here recently?
What we took was we took a part-time person and made it
full-time.
full-time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And now, the important part of that is that was not just to focus on children's, that was so she could focus on programming in general.
Right.
And that kind
The
of
only thing,
thing.
sometimes I get nervous, again, I support a lot of ththings, but when we hire, I'm not saying that we don't need staff, but when we hire staff on, we so-called have a grant, because this is basically free money.
Oh, yeah.
And this money's gonna run out in 3 years. Now we have to put this into our budget in 3 years from now.
That's the question.
And that's where sometimes I get nervous, because who knows where we're gonna be at in 3 years. Whether the three of us are sitting here, whether we aren't, whoever's gonna be sitting here. But now you have to absorb that into your budget then. So it's a catch-22. Again, I support it, but how do we pay for it after this money dries up?
Well, that's a good question, and that's a question for the library board. Is this intended to be a permanent staffing?
They'd like to get a start on it and see what they can do. It also comes out of the research study that was done in the town this year to find out what are the demographics of the town, who's using the library, what are the needs are. And it was a balance. Most of the COVID was, in thinking around that, had to do with the young adults. And it turned out that the older adults are very fast growing. This is a 60-plus group. And no one's focusing on them. And they're the ones that are coming in and wanting more and asking for a range of other things. They're also paying the taxes. So I'm not the librarian, I'm not on staff, I'm one of the board members. I'm sure in all the librarians' heart, they'd love to quadruple the staff if possible, but that's just
Yeah.
not realistic.
Mhm.
So this is thought of, if we have the money, they bring somebody in and get as far along on setting up programs with the understanding that there's no promise whatsoever to go beyond that third year.
Mhm.
But they put it as, and I looked at it with different eyes as a library user and as a citizen and as a board member. But these were the folks actually working there and what they thought. They voted that number one.
Mhm.
I mean, they prioritized these, and that, and the circulation debt, and some of the other ones came in below that. But to your point, at the end, there would be an end
Yeah.
to this role.
And because, again, once you bring someone in and you train them for 3 years, you don't want to cut that services off. So then it's juggling, where do we find that money? It doesn't seem like a significant amount of money right now as we're sitting here talking, but who knows what 3 years is gonna bring. So
That's right.
it's because we have it up here on the Tri-Town Youth Services, hiring additional employees.
Well, that I actually can speak to a little bit without
Yep.
distracting us from here. That is fully intended to be a stopgap for the immediate need. But also, we have a social services employee now who is aging out and is going to be looking to retire.
Yep.
So it might be a place,
But-
opportunity for that. But that is intended
that-
really
that's
as a stopgap.
that's part of it.
But
exactly
that's a
the thing.
little bit of
Yeah.
a difference, because you read this and it says, an employee.
Yep.
Yes, we understand what the aging out, but we give this money and all of a sudden, 3 years, 2 years from now, we still need that help.
Well, that's the whole thing, and my intention on that is, we need to reevaluate. Because I'm not sure that we need full-time, but I guarantee you that we need more than we have,
So that's,
Yeah. But no, that's a good question. It's interesting, that it was prioritized number one by the state.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay.
But the two most expensive items were the two highest priorities. So,
We shot for the stars.
yeah, you gotta shoot for the
doesn't hurt
stars.
to ask, right? Most you can say is no.
You gotta shoot. So this is something that we can, and this actually brings up a good point, because here we're kind of looking at these. We will, my intent anyway, and you guys can tell me if you think this is incorrect. I think we can only make, this is similar to the budget. It is given to us, this money is given to us to spend the exact same way that we spend our budget.
Correct.
So the way we spend our budget is, Selectmen's budget goes to recommendation goes to the Board of Finance. Board of Finance is who determines what it gets put in front of the town. So what I'm going to suggest is that we make a recommendation, okay? I'm making this up as we go along right now. Let's say that we determine for the library, we're going to recommend only items number 1 and 2. That's what we recommend. The Board of Finance can look at this, can listen to a presentation and say, we agree with those two are priorities, but this number 4 is important to us. We think we should add that. They're going to be the ones who determine what gets in front of the town. We can present, we will present to them what we determine, but it's going to be up to the Board of Finance to say this is what's going to go
And
forward.
ultimately, the taxpayers, when it comes to the town meeting.
Ultimately, it is the town that decides, right? And boy, howdy, I've been watching a lot of towns.
Yeah.
It can get pretty raucous, and it can get pretty messy, but it is.
And that's why I'm looking at these numbers, and I'm looking at this like we're doing our budget workshops.
That's exactly what we're doing.
And again, it's how can we get the most bang out of our buck?
Yep, that's exactly what we're doing right now. So, but the difference is, this is a fixed amount.
Yep.
So, I'm not sure where you guys are at, if you want to
Next one's
think this
$1
through,
million. Oh.
or where you're at with the library. But that's where we are now. And I'm not sure we're going to get through all of this tonight. If we do, awesome. If we don't, we can either call a special meeting or do this again next week. Okay. Next item up is pandemonium.
Before we get to that, I'm just, in case I didn't comment for the Historical Society. I'm on the Board of Trustees of the Historical Society. I'm not gonna comment on pandemonium. I'm involved with that personally, and I'm also a vice president of the Ambulance Association, so I will have no comment on those three. Just so people say, well, why isn't Jim saying anything? I have an interest in those three, so that's where I'm gonna be quiet on them, just so anybody knows.
Thank you. Good thought. So pandemonium is asking for a considerable amount of money. To find, what kind of work they want to do. I think they asked for $20,000 to go to site work to develop fences, paths, and educational placards and reconstruction of the site. Historians have deemed it extremely rare, given the history of the ivory trade. That was in fact one of the first buildings that were built. I think I started back in the back. $30,000 was asked to complete the animal center. And I don't know, Jim, you might actually be able to explain some of this. Because I don't know the program over there very well, but they're apparently building enclosures to house abused and abandoned exotic animals.
Yeah,
And
I
kind
can
of a
give
zoo
you some
like-
facts,
yeah,
I have no opinions.
Yeah.
That building is erected, and it needs to be completed on the inside, and that's where the rescued animals will be housed, and any programs and whatnot that they will do in regards to them, because I know they want to do community outreach programs using the animals, whether it be PTSD or veterans or, things like that. But they're looking to finish that. If anybody's been in there, there's a green metal building, and they're looking to finish the inside of that. Again, that's, the animals are housed behind Ashley's Garden in the forest, and they're gonna move them into that
Okay.
now, so.
Like I just said, $20,000 will go into site work, and another $10,000 will be used to create and open a West Factory Museum to work in conjunction with the Deep River Historical Society. The Factory Ivory Vault will be the Pratt Reed and Company Museum, as well as also telling the story of the Essico manufacturing business, which was there almost as long as the ivory. So that's a good $60,000 to go into that project. I'm not sure how I feel about that one. While it is a not-for-profit, it is in fact a private enterprise. So I'm not 100% comfortable. I don't know if they've approached the Deep River Historical Society to house some of that museum. Bruce, or have either of you?
We have some artifacts on display at the Historical Society from the factory up there. As far as a formal agreement between the two entities and working together, we have none.
No, okay, that was my question.
You say it's accurate?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how to move forward on that. I'm a little bit uncomfortable with it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say yes, I'm not gonna say no at this
Yeah.
present time.
Yep.
I'd like to get a little bit more facts on it, because again, and I'm not saying that this isn't important, but the next one in line is very important
Yeah,
to me,
yeah,
because they're the unsung heroes, and they never come to us looking for anything. So for an ambulance, I'm all for that.
yep,
So if we can just table that one for now,
that's fine.
I'm like I
That's
said, I'm
fine.
not.
Yep. That's fine. My discomfort shouldn't persuade anyone.
No, it's not
Should-
persuading
it
me,
also-
I just,
it al- I know it
no,
doesn't.
no,
Yeah,
I don't get
believe me,
persuaded.
I know I can't persuade you.
I don't get persuaded. I just
But,
sometimes.
but I also, it shouldn't prevent us from moving on it one way or the other.
Yep.
But let's table it for now. We can, if you can do some
60,000
research.
just seems like a big
It's a
chunk
lot
of
money.
change.
Yeah,
When we're looking at $45,000 over 3 years to help out the library, which is gonna service a lot of people, versus 60,000. and who knows what it's gonna serve us.
Yep. I think, not to defend it at all, but I think the ultimate goal, number one, is to preserve a historic building, which is very commendable, but also the effort, I think, is to create an attraction that will in fact bring people into town and service a lot of people. In the end, it is a private enterprise. That's where my discomfort comes from. But all right, so I agree with you. Let's table that. Maybe we can do a little more research or ask Allison and Kim to.
If I might, we've got a couple of question groups, and maybe that's
Yeah.
where those particular people could be brought in
That's-
instead of
that's-
everybody.
Yep, that's what I was
Bring
just
in-
saying.
Yeah, bring in 4 people at the
Yep.
next meeting with the ones that we have
Yep.
the specific questions on or questions about or whatever.
Yep. No, as we've been speaking these last
Yeah.
couple minutes, that's what I'm thinking, is we
Yeah.
call a
Yep.
special meeting for next week to ask and get feedback from each of these folks that we have question marks on. Ambulance Association is an interesting and unique situation. They are not technically a town organization. That said, they service
They
the
service our
town a lot. If you had the scanner, you would be amazed at how often those guys get called out. So we are very fortunate to have them. As their letter suggests, actually, they came to me a year ago, just saying that they might need it. Actually, I think I called them and said, "What's the status with your ambulances?" Because I was up there for some conversation or something. They are in the process of putting funding together. Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, but any portion that we can contribute towards this is the cost for an ambulance. My meetings with Jen and other folks from the association, or from the ambulance group, has indicated that anything that we can contribute towards that will go a long way. And my suggestion off the top would be at 50% of that. So we come in with 130 or 140, as opposed to the 275. I think that would be very much appreciated. But
But we take something like that right there, if we contribute 140, and you take some from the fire department, you're gonna be able to do that 1.5.
yeah, that's how we get to 1.5.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's right.
So everybody's not gonna get everything they want, but they're gonna get a significant amount.
Yep. And that's the hard part
Yeah.
of what we're doing, because if you just went for deserving, it's one of the what's that Clint Eastwood line? Deserving got nothing to do with it. I think the Ambulance Association certainly deserves anything that we can afford, and I think that we ought to start at that 50% and see where the math brings us with them, if that's okay with you.
Yep.
Deep River Police Department has requested another vehicle. As you've noticed at the Board of Finance meetings, our vehicle maintenance is up considerably. You need it.
We need it, and the amount of money that we're spending for maintenance.
Yeah, it's gonna equal that.
It's adding up fast.
Yeah.
And so you're either gonna give the money here, or they're gonna put it into our budget. You're gonna
That's
get
right.
it one way or the other.
Yep.
But doing it this way, we will save the extra money on the maintenance out of our budget.
And I will say Wayland has been extremely generous, but they do not have a police car that we can use right now. So. That's where we're at. I don't know what your feelings are on any of these other ones that I rambled through in the beginning. If you agree, then nod your head. If you disagree, and shake your head and tell me what you think.
No, I think the fire department should clarify.
Well, let's ask them, if you guys are okay,
Yeah.
then we'll schedule a special
Yeah.
meeting for next Tuesday. Wait, next Tuesday is the town meeting. That's at 7 o'clock? Do you think an hour would be sufficient to proceed? Start at
Six.
6, if you can?
Yeah.
Or we can do another night, I just have to get a
If
schedule.
we're gonna be here,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't have a problem with that.
all right, let's try 6, we'll ask everybody to come
want
in.
to give it enough time, let's do it
Sure,
5:30.
that might be better.
Give us a
5:30.
little bit
Yeah.
of, you know,
That
you don't
might be better.
wanna,
Let's think that through. The fire department will be here anyway. So that'll be fine with them. So let me reach out to, we wanted to ask the fire department. We wanted to talk to, well, the library we need to figure out.
Yeah, we're at the library.
I don't know if we need to ask them any more questions. We have someone here, but if you want, we could have Linda, we could have Linda or Susan here.
Yep.
Pandemonium.
Mhm.
We can ask Kim and Allison
Jen?
and Jim to sit over there in the squeaky
No,
chair.
Jen.
Jen.
Jen for the, Jen.
Jen for the ambulance, yeah, absolutely, yeah. If you, I'm sure Steve would be happy to come in, but I don't know that we have any real questions about the
Steve.
police car.
Oh, it's the police car, okay. That's
That's
police
a-
car.
Those are the
is-
questions we have.
Yeah, that's kind of a
no-brainer.
cut and
Yeah,
dry.
and what I can do
It is what it
is,
is.
in the course of the week, I will do some math and see where, you know, what we've
Where it
talked
adds
about
up.
and see
Yep.
where we're at, okay? We didn't cut a whole heck of a lot. You know, but we cut some.
That's, you know, it's a
Well,
good
I-
solid
again,
first step.
Let's have it,
I know that I had asked it and you said there wasn't enough money, but the music, again, if we can,
yep.
Oh, yeah, that's the park and rec one.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, do we have to do it over a 3-year
Well,
period? Can we do it
that's-
over a 2-year period?
But that's
Yes,
already
we can,
gone.
but that's already gone past us. That's
Yes,
yeah,
at them
yeah.
already.
So
What we
it's
can
gonna
do
be
is
the town
ask
meeting.
them, we can ask them to take another look at it and at or before the town meeting,
Yep.
revise their plans,
Mhm.
but,
Let's see where at that point with what we discussed, where the number has, even if it's a little, at least it comes down, we know.
and I think that, it might be appropriate to take a look at a presentation for the,
Mhm.
for the,
Yeah. that'd be
for
fine.
this. You know,
Yep.
it's probably a 20-minute presentation. So, if you wanna do that,
Back to the deeper with social services,
yep,
130 over 2 years.
yep,
Does that include benefits?
yep.
Okay. That's wages, benefits for the 130,
Mhm.
so 65 a year.
Mhm.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's the same with the library person.
No, the library, they're asking for part-time.
Oh, it's part-time?
No
Okay.
benefits.
Okay.
If I read that, let me just confirm that, but that's my,
Yep,
that's my
part-time.
question,
Okay.
is that was part-time.
15,
3 years.
okay.
Yeah.
I just saw the total amount, you know, for the, okay,
Mhm.
gotcha.
But it'd be good to have the librarian in here, because we might be able to trim some and come up with something for an architect to look at that. I'd like to actually find some money for an architect to look at the whole of the building, but I'm not sure we have time
Mhm.
to get a good proposal on that.
And I've supported a wood chipper for years
I
now.
know.
Is 100,000,
That's
Good.
the most current cost that we've got,
Okay.
yeah. Yep. Okay,
In reference to the library, have we ever had an arborist look at that big copper beech?
I don't know if we ever have or not.
Destroy that building.
yep,
That's a huge, huge tree, and every time I drive by there, I look at that with splits in it, especially after the one in Centerbrook by the Cumberland Farms when they just gave up the ghost.
yep, no, that,
Trees can do damage to
trees
the building.
can give up the ghost, that
We
tree.
got great big trees right out in front of this building.
I was very, very afraid of that tree this spring when beech trees, I just read an article that beech trees, there was a blight going on with beech trees. That was not copper beeches. I did talk to the town tree warden about that, and that was not copper beeches. But,
Trees get old.
yeah, they do.
Maybe
and
half
fragile.
that tree would be-
Yeah, it's talking about me.
want to be.
Yep. So, let's plan on that meeting. I'll see if we can get this presentation, maybe the presentation coming right at 5:30. get that, wrap that up, and then we can talk to some of the other folks, maybe Allison and those guys can come after that. But we'll try to schedule all those guys. Okay?
Okay.
Good plan.
All right. That's it. You have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn at 7:45.
All those in favor?
Second.
Oh, second. Second.
He beat.
All those in favor, aye.
Thank you.